Your footsteps feel too loud in the hushed space as you step into the next room of the museum. A title above the doorway declares Life in Ancient Egypt. You grin excitedly to yourself. All the exhibits at the Museum of Natural History have been incredible, but this is truly what you came to see. You slowly begin to circle through the exhibit, taking in every bit of information you can. Egyptology has always fascinated you. The pharaohs, the different gods the ancient Egyptians worshipped, the pyramids and the Sphinx, and of course, your eyes are drawn to a long, low glass case set in the middle of the room, and a shiver goes up your spine. Taking a deep breath, you step forward and peer through the glass. The mummy seems to stare back at you through the bandages wrapped tightly over its eyes. Tightly over its everything, really. Your gaze travels over the wrappings, tightly concealing any secrets this person could hold, and you can't help but think to yourself, who were they? What were they like before they died? What was their life like all those centuries ago? Pulling your eyes from the rather morbid sight, you begin to read over the plaques set respectfully at the foot of the case. The purpose of embalming and mummification, the process behind it, and then a strange subtitle catches your eye. You do a double take. Surely that can't be real. The strange history of mummies being used as medicine? I'm Christiana.
I'm Bree.
I'm Frank.
I'm Sage.
Settle in and prepare to get a taste of some seriously strange medicine.
Because you're about to hear something strange.
Welcome to episode 41. Why are we eating the mummies? So, welcome back to Something Strange, friends. This episode is based on the episode that we were guests on with Frank and Sage over at the Unknown, Unsolved, Unseen podcast about the historical figure Cleopatra. And we have our super special guests themselves, Frank and Sage, back with us today. Hello, friends.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
I'm so excited for this one. I'm so excited.
It'll be fun.
It's been a long time in the making.
When you were doing your opening, I was refraining from saying, when you were saying the mummy, I'm like, oh, a delicious mummy. I don't know if you saw, I put my face out of view and I was covering my mouth 'cause I'm trying not to laugh about saying something about British people eating mummies.
It sure did happen.
About this. I would because we have your pins that you made us. One on my it sits on our table, it's like a part of our centerpiece on our table. And I was like, I love showing my mom, and she was like, "What does that even mean?" And I was like, "Well," I was like, "Let me tell you these." And then Frank went in a little spiel, but I'm gonna tell her she definitely has to come listen to this episode.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Whenever mummies are brought up, the only thing I can think of is has everyone here seen the movie Monster House?
Yes.
You know that guy who runs up and eats the fry real quick and runs away? I think it
takes a little nibble of a finger.
British people when they see a mummy.
Oh my
That's
God.
all I can
funny.
picture in my head. Maybe we should introduce ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. Do you guys want to kind of tell? You've been on our podcast. This is the second time.
Yeah.
Yes. But if you want to tell the people who you are, a little bit about your pod and where to find you, all that fun stuff.
We're returning pod friends, Frank and
Sage.
We're from Unknown, Unsolved, Unseen, and we talk about everything that falls within those three words. So everything from aliens, cryptids, ghosts, unsolved crime, and random other mysteries out there. We cover just about all of it. Sometimes more in depth, and sometimes really random thing that nobody's ever heard about. And yeah, you can find us really anywhere where you can have podcast. We're on YouTube now, actually, and
Nice.
We have stuff on Spotify and Apple is where we get most of our stuff. Occasionally from some random stuff too. Shout out to our one new listen from Uzbekistan of all places in the world.
Oh,
Ooh.
cool. Fun.
What else do you have to say about us, Sage?
I think you did everything we need. But yeah, Frank tends to do more of the cryptids and stuff like that. I tend to stick to the true crime and the hauntings. So we have a little bit of our own niches within our podcast itself.
I try not to stay too much on aliens, but literally every time I put an alien episode up, it gets more like listens than anything else, and like the people want the aliens. But on the other side, I like some of those random things out there. Like in Seattle, there's something called the Mystery Coke Machine, where it's over the last like 30 years, it's like a Coca-Cola machine. Nobody knows who owns it, and it shows up every once in a while with like the buttons just say mystery on it. And sometimes it's regular Coca-Cola drinks, other times it's Coca-Cola variants from around the world, and nobody knows who owns the machine. And it's just there for a little bit and then disappears and comes back.
I want to find it.
Are we sure? Are we sure it's not a TARDIS?
Oh, true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's,
What? And
Like from Doctor
we've
Who?
had a revelation. We've had a revelation. That's exactly what it is. It's just disguised as the Coke machine.
Oh
what's,
my God,
what's-
David Tennant's in it.
It's Chris's TARDIS.
Oh, I love him. I love David Tennant.
Us too.
Yes.
You know what's cooler than that?
Mummies?
People eating mummies.
People
So-
eating
Mummies.
mummies.
I
So,
like
don't
people
think
eating
it's
them, not
cool. I
mummies
think
eating
it's,
people.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that would
You know.
be fair vengeance, to be fair.
All
How
so
do
I
they
guess that's a
digest
trigger
it?
warning.
Yes, I do want to shout some trigger warnings out right at the beginning of this because this is going to be a wild episode. Trigger warnings for cannibalism, discussion of executions, old-timey quote-unquote medical practices, and desecration of many, many corpses. This is a wild one, friends. Say again?
I said, ay, ay, ay.
Aye, aye, aye.
That was
Yes,
weird.
indeed. So I'm going to jump in here with asking the question, why are we eating mummies? And this practice of eating mummies started all the way back in the 12th century. To understand why Egyptian mummies were being consumed, we need to understand the term corpse medicine.
Oh, that just gives me the ick. Just the name.
What a term.
What a term.
Why don't we
Metal
use
band.
cool words like that? Yeah, that would be a good band name.
Oh, that would be yeah. So the consumption of human remains for medicinal purposes is corpse medicine. It peaked in Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries, and despite Europeans calling the people indigenous to quote-unquote newly discovered Americas, quote-unquote savages for cannibalistic practices, they sure were doing it themselves.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah. While this practice began with the consumption of Egyptian mummies, it quickly moved forward to more generalized cannibalism, sometimes even including bodies within the consumer's own community.
Holy shrimp. Oh my God.
Oh, can you imagine
George,
eating your
he's-
friend?
God, yes, sure. Go ahead, Sage.
So like, can you imagine just like eating your friend? Like your friend
Yeah.
dies and you just eat your friend. Like that's like some freaking survival shit. This ain't no what the heck?
Nothing goes to waste.
This is some,
Because I
this is
just
some Donner party shit right here.
It's like, I don't know. George just
Yeah.
looks really shiny.
You know, this is what society was like before KFC was invented.
What?
You didn't have the ease of fast food like KFC and McDonald's, so we had to resort to eating each other.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, before KFC, there's plenty of cases of cannibalism. After KFC came into the picture, there's a lot less.
Just saying.
Or like,
true.
you
That's
know,
true.
Causation and correlation definitely always is a thing.
Let's see. So corpse medicine was thought to cure many different ailments. People created tinctures for internal bleeding. The skull.
Wait. How do tinctures work for internal bleeding?
I don't know.
Okay.
Couldn't tell
what is
you.
a tincture?
It's like
Say I'm stupid and don't know what it is.
Like I think an elixir essentially.
yeah.
Hang on. We have the internet at our fingertips. I will look up.
It's not topical. You like drink it.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Internal band-aid.
A medicine made. Why did I say it like that? A medicine made by dissolving a drug in alcohol.
Oh.
So it was delightful. That is
man.
per Google Dictionary.
So that's why I don't hear it anymore, because, you know, Mr. Big Government keeps telling me that I should not be mixing my drugs with alcohol.
That is very true.
We were a proper country once, and then they said, can't eat mummies, can't put your drugs and alcohol together. God, it's gone downhill fast, I gotta say.
This was this our country? This wasn't our country, right?
That was the
England.
British. We were the British to an extent before, you know. We're descendants from them. It's still
I don't
partially.
claim this. I don't.
I
I
don't
don't
claim
claim this practice. Like I do have like my grandma's done ancestry, the DNA stuff,
Mhm.
and it goes like the whole way back to the round tables of
Oh, wow.
Britain, and like I have many a great descendant who was a knight of the round table.
I thought that was still a myth.
I don't claim this. I claim the Irish heritage that I have. No mummy eating. Although, did the Irish do it too?
Well, we'll talk about that.
Don't worry.
Get there.
God damn it.
The skull in powdered form was used for headaches and other head-based afflictions.
That's so ironic.
That's-
It's like
It's
just put some more head in your head.
pretty much.
That's fucking hilarious.
According to one Thomas Willis, a 17th century gentleman who was a trailblazer in the study of the brain, a specific mix of chocolate and powdered skull could cure apoplexy. According to Merriam-Webster, it's a dated term for a stroke, gross hemorrhage into a cavity or into the substance of an organ.
Wow,
So-
and to think that I thought that Hershey's air chocolate was the best chocolate?
Skull
You got to throw
chocolate.
some powdered skull in there.
Yeah, what have I been missing all these
Yeah.
years?
We went to the chocolate museum in Croatia, and there's nowhere about powder skull in our chocolate. Come on.
That's probably good.
Also, I
Where's
don't
the
know if
authenticity?
the authenticity, yes.
Human fat was used externally for various issues. Certain German. Why am I talking? What is happening? Certain German doctors, and no, that is not a euphemism for Nazis, but certain German doctors recommended wounds to be wrapped in human fat-soaked bandages. It was also used as a kind of lotion, and it was said to cure gout. So, blood, when fresh, was thought to contain, quote unquote, the vitality of the body. You could just drink it, or you could even make it into marmalade with a particular recipe from 1679. There is a recipe for blood marmalade. Marmalade, however you pronounce that.
Are we a bunch of vampires or something?
It gets worse. I wish I could say it got
Ow.
better.
How does it get?
I'm gonna have to get a freaking fly trap for my mouth being open just this whole time. Like the more you say, the more my jaw just like slowly like, are you kidding me?
The fact that the blood has to be fresh for the
It has to
vitality.
be, yeah.
Could it coagulate? Huh? Because it would coagulate.
Coagulate.
Coagulate. Yeah.
There we go. Otherwise,
Yes. And then there was even a particular type of lichen that grew over buried skulls that was considered medicinal, presumably due to its growth in such proximity to human remains, I think is what this was getting at. The lichen is called Uskina, otherwise known as a beard lichen, beard moss, or old man's beard. And it was thought to cure nosebleeds and possibly even epilepsy.
that's the least gross.
Nosebleeds
That
makes sense.
is.
Just shove it up your nose. Sure. Epilepsy, I have no idea.
Wow.
So I'm gonna move on, get a little less graphic here for a minute and talk about mumia, which is a pretty unfortunate mistranslation that led to essentially medicinal cannibalization. The word mummy is derived from a Persian term, mumia. Mumia is a Persian word for bitumen, which is a naturally occurring hydrocarbon. According to Merriam-Webster, quote, an asphalt of Asia Minor used in ancient times as a cement and mortar. Any various mixtures of hydrocarbons, such as tar, often together with their non-metallic derivatives that occur naturally or are obtained as residues after heat refining natural substances, such as petroleum. Bitumen was commonly used as a building material, but just as commonly was used in medicine, which makes me want to know if people of this time were just going around licking walls when they did not feel good. They were just like, I got a tummy ache.
we did a lot of trial and error to get to where we are today, so I don't think they, very possible.
And like,
Yeah.
what happens if you drink, like you eat cement? Like mortar. Like if it's like
Yeah.
and are you doing it when it's in its wet mixture? And is it like literally cementing itself to your stomach? Is that why it works?
There's different. I'm actually going to go into that. When heat is applied, bitumen becomes thick, sticky, and liquid, but it turns hard when it dries. So this was useful for casting bone breaks, as well as treatments such as creating poultices, treating other skin diseases, treatment for cataracts. I don't know how, and for toothaches. So it kind of makes sense. The casting makes sense.
Yeah, that I could get.
They got
Right.
cure for everything.
Pretty much, yeah. In the 1st century, Pliny the Elder stated that bitumen mixed with wine would help to cure coughs and dysentery. If mixed with vinegar, it could remove blood clots.
Like,
Wow.
they're just taking it and then taking random other things with it to see what worked.
Pretty much, yeah. They were literally just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping something would stick.
It's like funny because that's like how, discoveries are made, is by doing stuff like that. It's just interesting to hear it in a way that's within humans in a time where we didn't have the same medical technology that we would have today. Like just being like, oh, by the way, if you eat this with vinegar, like blood clots will go away. How do we even how are we knowing that you had blood clots at that time? Like I don't know.
I think like germ theory and stuff, germ theory is something else. That's the belief that germs don't exist, which is a more common thing nowadays. But like the idea, like germs and infections are like relatively in human history more recent.
That's true. It is true.
With that, we're better at testing stuff now because we understand basic scientific knowledge. But back then, cleaning out a wound was not a priority whenever you got injured. The idea of cleaning out and that it can get infected was just like, not possible. That won't happen that way.
Yeah.
I had a thought and it just left my brain.
Oh no.
Maybe I need tar and
you need bitumen. You need some
of
bitumen.
that. No, you need some of that chocolate with skull powder. We're talking about your head here, okay? We gotta strengthen your mind with skull, I guess, and chocolate.
Choco skull.
the newest candy on the market.
But with it's like the candy skulls, but with actual skull in it.
Yes. Dioscorides, a Greek physician from the 1st century, wrote that bitumen, specifically from the Dead Sea, was the most useful for medicine. And this is where it gets interesting because the ancient use of bitumen for medicine does hold some water. Scientists would later go on to discover that bitumen does actually contain antimicrobial and biocidal properties. And bitumen, specifically from the Dead Sea, contained sulfur, which would add to its biocidal properties. If you guys have heard of like sulfa drugs, sulfasalazine, don't quote me on that one, but that is a classification of drug. So it is kind of interesting. Like they didn't probably realize quite how close they were to being on to something, but they were on to something and using this as a drug.
It seems like it's always that way where they're just right there.
Right. They might not have understood the reason why, but they saw it was helping and went, oh, okay, well, we're just going to keep throwing it at the wall and hopefully it keeps helping. And in some cases they were right. In some cases, I'm sure they were extremely wrong.
Yeah.
And then they'd have more bodies to make medicine out of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in the 11th century, a Persian physician began using the term mumia, specifically when referencing bitumen used for medicine. So mumia equals medicinal bitumen. When Europeans found ancient Egyptian mummies, they noted that there was a black substance that covered the bodies, and they compared this substance to mumia, and therefore began to call these preserved human remains mummies. As you can imagine, confusion between mummy and a mummy being a mummified corpse and mumia, the medicinal bitumen, started to just spiral out of control from there. At first, this black substance was scraped from the mummies and used for the medicine. In the 12th century, though, things went off the rails. Gerard of Cremona, who translated manuscripts in the Arabic language, defined mumia as the substance found in the land where bodies are buried with aloes, by which the liquid of the dead, mixed with the aloes, is transformed and is similar to marine pitch. Now, rather than trying to scrape off the covering on these mummy remains on these human remains to consume for its supposed medicinal purposes, people began to just eat the remains themselves.
You know what? Modern problems require modern solutions.
Modern mistranslations require modern solutions.
Oh my God.
Look, it's so much work just to scrape off the little bit. Just take a chunk, take a finger here and there.
Just a little nibble. Eventually, guys, we're not laughing because this is funny. We're laughing, to be clear, because this is so uncomfortable
and ridiculous.
Just insane.
Oh, I'm definitely laughing at the ridiculousness of it. It's just, you look at some of the stuff they did back then, and it's just like, how did we get here? You did a good job of describing how we got there, but still, what the fuck?
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, still, like, how did we get here?
What stuff are they going to look at in like 100 years and be like, oh my God?
Yeah.
Truly. I was literally just thinking almost exactly the same thing. Like, we're looking at it from a 21st century perspective of like, this is insane. Like, I love my husband. I'm not eating him when he dies. Like, no way. Like, that's insane. Like, and that's crazy to me. Any of my friends, I could never just take a bite of someone. That would freak me out, like, so much. But like, to them, like, it's the same thing as like the elixir of life kind of thing of like, if you drink this water, you'll live forever kind of thing. Like, they just genuinely believed that this was being helpful to them. And like, we just look at it from our perspective of like, that's dumb as shit. But also, like, it must have worked at some point that they were continuing to use it enough that it's in the science era of where they're at.
Right.
I wonder how much they like actually knew what was in the medicine, because like we don't know what's in most of our medicine.
Yeah.
That's a true point. That's a good point.
Big words I struggle to pronounce saying. That's what's in them.
Eventually it got to the point where there literally weren't enough mummies to go around for the amount of people that were eating them. And this is when the practice began shifting from consuming mumia for medicine to just generally committing medicinal cannibalism.
Holy fucking shit. They ran out of mummies.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The mummy buffet's out of mummies.
How do we have any today?
They literally, were running out of people to ship. That sounds terrible, but like to ship from Egypt to use as medicine.
Well, I wonder, to answer your question, Sage, I wonder if the ones that we have today might have been discovered after this craze.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. As we know, it's potential to find Cleopatra at some point here in the coming years, maybe. Like, they think they're, I mean, we know from my episode that like they think they're on their way to that. Like, and that will be one that's been likely untouched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm excited about that one. I really hope we hear about that in the next
I hope so
years.
too.
Well, let's see. Some doctors tried to push the narrative that fresher remains were medicinally better than those of Egyptian mummies who had been dead for many, many, many years. And as well, finding fresh human remains was simply easier than trying to get your hands on remains from Egypt. So who all was doing this? Many people.
What years are we in now?
This was moving from the 12th century up. The big boom of it hit in the 16th and 17th centuries.
God damn.
So holy people like priests, scientists, and royalty regularly took part in this strange medical practice, quote unquote. There was actually an elixir called the King's Drops that consisted of powdered human skull mixed with alcohol, and that was imbibed regularly by King Charles II of England.
No chocolate.
However, medicinal cannibalism was not just for the upper class. The lower classes of society could partake as well. In particular, this gets bad, guys. This is where the trigger warning for executions comes in.
We're supposed to be grilling after this, and I'm
so sorry.
I'm just kidding. I mean, we are grilling, but I'm just kidding. Of course.
I'll say, this is the type of classic quality I like. Human remains to eat for all.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Doesn't matter who you are.
And I do think that that's an interesting thing, though, right? Like, it's an interesting thing because if you think about like today, like I'm pretty sure that the cure for cancer is out there, and the only people that are getting it are the ones that are rich enough or high enough in power to do so. For something like this, where people are able, like across the board, to be getting it, like it's fucked that they're doing it this way, but across the board, they're getting access to the same type of medicine. Like that's stuff that's like kind of unheard of today.
Well,
That
it
is
sounds
true.
like what you're leading up to saying is pretty disturbing. So I don't know if you want to hold off on those words.
Well, I'm just saying it's not necessarily what it is. It's the idea that they're not saving it only for royalty and only for the high power people. Like we don't have that in our societies today where like everybody gets equal opportunity and equal access to any whatever medications out there.
That's very true. And that's an interesting point.
Mummies for all.
Mummies for all.
That's the next pin.
I was just gonna say, please make a new pin that says
This cannibalism for all is a communism I strive for.
We should wear those pins when we go to Mothman.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Exciting.
Oh,
Are you going to Mothman Festival this year?
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So going from Mothman back to cannibalism.
Yeah. In this case,
Why not both?
fresh blood could be particularly easy to come by visiting your local executioner. Generally, people didn't take blood from living humans because that just wouldn't do. We were not vampires. We were
That's
cannibals.
barbaric.
However, it was thought that it should be drunk like as fresh as possible. Like the blood should be as fresh as possible while it was being consumed. So people could visit executions and then actually pay the executioner for sorry, this is just a gross thing to say, a warm cup of blood from the person who had just been put to death.
Ooh.
whoa.
Hey, honey, when you go out for groceries today, make sure you stop by the executioner and get a warm cup of blood, okay? We haven't
I'm
got
feeling
some
a
in a
little-
little bit of time.
That's
Feeling a little
that's
tired, feeling a little down here.
That's so interesting to me because, sorry, if you think like when you were talking earlier about using like crushed up skull for like headaches and stuff, like I would have thought they would have had some kind of like superstition of using the blood of somebody that they had to execute.
Yeah, I guess it was just because
Wouldn't-
it was an easy way to get it.
Yeah.
We go into it a little bit moving forward here, but that is an interesting point.
So you know what this reminds me of, and I don't mean to offend anyone, because I feel really like I can't do this because I feel like really bad. But when you go to like a seafood place and you pick out the lobster,
Yeah.
like I can't do
Yeah.
that because I feel bad for the lobster.
I know.
I never get lobster at a seafood place.
Uh-uh.
I can't do that because it'll kill me. Because
Are you allergic to shellfish?
Yeah.
Well, then definitely don't do that.
Yeah, no, it makes me sad though.
From like food live.
Well, crabs are the same way, aren't they?
No, crabs can be frozen.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
most times, like, aren't fresh crabs, if you make them fresh, aren't they alive when you put them in the pot?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, and
typically.
also like something like when we were in Alaska a long time ago, like my family, like they caught the crab freshly, unlike the lobster that's been sitting in a tiny ass tank for God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
That's very different.
They probably leave the tank thinking they're like getting to go have like a good life, and then they get dropped in a hot pot of boiling water.
We
I
went
don't
somewhere
know,
dark.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the
Yeah.
other dark shit.
Have you guys ever watched The Simpsons? Like some of the classic Simpsons?
It's been a hot minute since I've seen any of the really old ones.
There's
Yeah.
one where Homer bought a tiny little lobster and he raised it so he could eat it and it would be big. And instead he loved it as a pet. His name was Pinchy. And he left Pinchy in for a warm bath by accident and accidentally cooked him and then ate him while crying because he was so delicious.
Oh,
I love that your response to us talking, like me saying that about the lobster, was, wow, we went to a really dark place, as if we aren't already in a really dark place in this episode.
I'm just saying, you got to grow your own lobster like Homer grew Pinchy.
Is-
You gotta
well,
love it.
yeah.
Grow your own
back-
human. Are we back to grow your own human for?
Whoa.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, please return. Sorry. Okay, I'm done talking.
So, while many people were not opposed to the practice of cannibalism, that did not mean that everyone was on board. In the 1500s, a physician and philosopher, Aloysius Mandela, declared that the medical practice known today as corpse medicine was, quote, abominable and detestable. Similarly, an herbalist in the same period, Leonard, I'm immature, I laughed at this, I'm pretty sure the last name is Fuchs. And it's
Damn,
Futch.
Leonard Fuchs.
It's Fuchs, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm immature.
No, wait,
Fooch, maybe? Fooch?
I'm just gonna
Fuchs.
Fuchs.
I believe that's Fuchs, solely because the TV show Barry, one of the guy has that last name, and I believe it's pronounced Fuchs.
Fuchs. Okay. Well, Mr. Fuchs compared corpse medicine to cannibalism. He was, however, okay with using the mummies for medicine.
What?
I guess cannibalism is cool if it's really, really ancient remains, but that leads me to the question: how old exactly do these remains need to be considered medicinal? According to
What the hell?
Wait. I want to go back a few lines there. He compares corpse medicine to cannibalism. So he compares it, but he says they're not the same thing. They're similar, but cannibalism is very different than corpse medicine.
Corpse medicine, he was comparing it to the eating of like fresh remains versus using mummified remains from Egypt.
Is it like fresh versus smoked?
I guess.
If I'm having like fresh meat from like something versus like
God damn.
old freezing or like jerky or something, I'm still eating the same thing.
Exactly.
I can't believe that.
Cannibalism is cannibalism. Just because you put a different hat on it, it's not cannibalism.
Yeah,
I can't believe this is the conversation that I'm having at 12:45 on a Saturday.
We're going to just be talking about mummies, but now we're talking about.
Good. You guys don't talk about cannibalism on a regular basis?
Oh.
Sometimes I do because of one of my favorite books I've read is actually on cannibalism.
Oh my God.
Do either you two read any horror books?
Yes.
I'm starting to.
Tender is the Flesh.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Heard of it.
It's a very popular book. It's actually one of the best-selling like modern horror books. It's all about cannibalism.
Ooh.
It's very good. It's very dystopian. It's like a decent insight into society and how we value certain things. Like it's very thematic type of book.
Right.
But
that's
cannibalism.
Interesting.
It's cannibalism is what it is.
It's just straight up cannibalism.
Yeah, I mean, this explained at the beginning. It's the virus, which it's questioned throughout, made it that all animals were dangerous to eat or be around, so they had to cull everything. And while we need food still, so we're going to start growing humans to eat. And say you do a crime too, you're going to the slaughterhouse too. And the main character is like a manager at a slaughterhouse.
Ooh.
And it's called Special Meat.
Jesus fucking Christ. This is why I read my like spicy romance books about dragons and friggin' other shit and magic and hockey specifically. Like I'm not out here just like reading about people eating special meat. Jesus.
It's a good book, I gotta say.
Back to the special meat here. Also, just because people were practicing corpse medicine did not mean they would give grace to people participating in similar practices. One group that was attacked for practicing corpse medicine was Catholics.
The Eucharist?
Yeah. So Catholics were often kind of attacked by, in particular, the Protestants. Catholics held/still hold, I'm assuming they still hold this practice, this belief in transubstantiation, which means that God's power changed the bread and wine received through taking communion. Wait, I'm sorry. How did I write?
Change the bread and wine to the body and blood.
Yes. Sorry, I just wrote that in a really weird way and it tripped me up. So this could be viewed as, in the most simplified of terms, eating flesh and blood. Despite the fact that at least some Protestants were certainly justifying cannibalism for the purpose of medicine, they disparaged Catholics for this belief.
That is so hypocritical. What?
People indigenous to the Americas were also being criticized for practicing cannibalism. I'm going to add another trigger warning in for racism, just blatant racism here.
Well, we're talking about the time period we're talking about there. Knew had to come up eventually.
Yeah, exactly. So the suggestion that people in the Americas were practicing cannibalism justified the nasty prejudice that many Europeans held towards the indigenous American people at the time. I call it American. I know it wasn't called that then, but for
First Nations,
yeah. Thankfully, the hypocrisy, at least towards the indigenous peoples, I'm not sure about Catholics, but the hypocrisy towards the indigenous was not entirely ignored. Michel, Michel de Montaigne of the 16th century wrote that cannibalism witnessed in Brazil was no different than Europeans consuming flesh for medicinal purposes. So at least someone was looking at that and going, hey guys, we're doing the same thing. We don't get to disparage them and treat them badly because they're doing this one practice when we literally do the same thing.
Hashtag cannibalism for all.
Yes, medicinal cannibalism for all. And I didn't go too deep into the weeds on this, but I think the very little bit of inference that I was getting from my research is that the cannibalism in Brazil and places like that at the time was very, very different from what it sounds like. It was more intentional in a way in Brazil than it was in Europe at the time. Yeah, but I don't want to go too deep into that because I really did not research that very much, and I don't want to say something that's incorrect.
Are you talking about the native people that were in Brazil already?
Yes. Sorry. Or what is now known today as Brazil.
What culture would that have been?
I'm not sure.
Many different cultures. There's various tribes that are only their tribe culture-wise. There's certain groups like the Aztecs and the Mayans, the Incas, other civilizations that were lost to time by that point, and only the remnants remained. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about the South and Central America is the amount of cultures is it's insane how many there are, but
right.
It's typically not shown that way. It's almost sometimes like tribes are near each other, but they're polar opposites. Because there are cases where there's a cannibalistic tribe next to a non-cannibal tribe, very different lifestyles, but not far apart. But Europeans group them all together as, oh, hey, you're these people. One of the interesting aspects to it is how we know some of these groups, especially Africa is a big one where this is an issue. The Europeans just kind of cut things up and labeled people certain groups, and they became those groups. If I'm not mistaken, that's how the Hutus and Tutsis were groups were formed in Rwanda solely based on how Europeans drew them up, which then led to the Rwandan genocide. There's a lot of repercussions for how Europeans divvied up the land with superficial borders. I knew too much about that stuff.
Oh no, it's interesting though, because it's true. And it's like, it kind of ties in with what I was saying before. It really just justified the prejudice that a lot of Europeans were holding towards people in what is now known today as North and South and Central America. Like, it just gave them even more reason to treat the indigenous like crap.
Yeah, and that's
it's
a nice
terrible
way of putting it. Guns, Germs, Steel.
I have that book.
What'd you say?
Yeah, it's a good book. I just said Guns, Germs, Steel, which is the books of what like Europeans brought over to the indigenous people, like our presence alone ruined everything for them.
Yeah. So why exactly did people think that this practice of corpse medicine or medicinal cannibalism would work? The basics behind corpse medicine was, quote unquote, like cures like. So if you have an ailment in one part of the body, consuming that body part from a deceased person was meant to cure that ailment. People participating in corpse medicine thought that human remains were such potent healing ingredients due to the quote unquote spirit that came from the deceased. This spirit was literally the spirit of the deceased person. Consumers could gain strength from the remains of the person they consumed. And quote from Leonardo da Vinci, "We preserve our life with the death of others. In a dead thing, insensate life remains, which, when it is reunited with the stomachs of the living, regains sensitive and intellectual life." And here's the thing. I love Leo da Vinci. He's one of my favorite artists. I think he's a fascinating human. He missed the mark. In this case, I'm going to say it. I think he missed the mark.
I think that like he hit the nail on the head with this one. Like, and it's not like, I don't know how to explain where my brain is coming from, but it makes completely logical sense, right? Like that is what they would have thought at the time. So like I think he's like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what my brain is going. I just think that like he was right. Like he, in that time period, that is exactly on the head for what they believed.
Yeah, I know where I can see where you're coming. I can definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it earlier of this. We're looking at this from a 21st century lens when literal hundreds of years ago, they did not have the same technology or knowledge that we have today. So it's important. It is important to look at it through their eyes versus our 21st century eyeballs.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, you know, blood transfusions and like bone marrow transplants and like things like that. Like that is quite literally like versus like.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Kidney transplant.
Yeah, like organ transplants, stuff like that. For some things, that really is how it is. Obviously, we know in a different way.
With more logic behind it.
Most people who give transfusions are not dead and or eaten. There's different ways to do it, but it's just interesting like how, you know, that could apply in certain contexts today, but also we look at it like, bro, what the fuck?
Right. It's a good point though, because that actually did come up specifically in the one article I used about modern day corpse medicine of, in particular, organ donation. Certain organs, of course, can be donated when you're still alive. You know, you don't need necessarily, quote unquote, need both of your kidneys. You can donate a kidney while you're still alive. But there are plenty of people that donate their bodies to science. They are organ donors, so their organs are used after their death and transferred into living people so living people can live.
Blood donors even, that's live.
Yeah. So it's all kinds of, it's in a sense very much modernized corpse medicine in a sense.
I mean, it sounds like horrible, but you're totally right. Like it is, because humans know that like other humans have similar qualities to us that like we can use to our advantage.
Right.
When someone dies and someone needs a kidney transplant or heart transplant, like that was at one point healthy for the most, like for, you know, in certain circumstances it wasn't. But like if that worked for this person, they only died because of this, then we can still use, like it's viable. We can use it somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting how it's transferred over the years. Back to Egyptian mummies, specifically their spirits. Just like people believed that eating the remains of an Egyptian pharaoh, for example, could give them godlike protection, except most mummies being brought to Europe were not even close to royalty. Many of them were the remains of lower class populations, or they potentially weren't even real at all. Like they weren't actual mummies. They were meat from different animals being passed off as that.
Okay.
Yeah. People of the Renaissance.
Grift.
It's a grift, yeah.
Yeah, you got grift. Put some other animals in there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like a hot dog.
Pretty much, yeah. People of the Renaissance were also not the very first practitioners of corpse medicine. In fact, the practice went back to ancient Rome, where Romans attempted to gain the spirit of slain gladiators by drinking their blood. People from the ancient cultures of India and Mesopotamia also practiced the medicinal consumption of bodies. And in short, it wasn't necessarily a new practice. So I think some of it was they kind of looked at it of like, well, people in the past have done this, you know, so it wasn't quite as taboo as like, we're just going to start this and see how it works.
Yeah.
All this being said, it's still cannibalism. How are people getting past that? Well, according to the author Louise Noble, it's possible that people participating in medicinal cannibalism were simply able to separate the quote unquote medicine from its source, i.e., it's not a human anymore, it's medicine. It's also possible that they saw a difference between eating remains as a form of medicine and eating remains as a sort of food. Like these are two different, completely different things. We're not eating this person because we're hungry, we're eating this person because we're trying to get better. So
I don't know
there's
which one I
that.
would like want more.
Yeah.
Because
think
I
it
think
depends.
what was there was the airplane crash that
Oh,
was like up in the mountain, and like that was
The Andes Mountain.
yeah,
yep.
and their own like that was what it was for, was like made it logical for, like, I hate when people take that out of context and are like, oh my god, they
Yeah.
ate the other people. It's like, okay, but they knew that these were people who weren't people anymore.
Right.
And that was how they justified to themselves that the only way they were going to live through that is being able to use like viable meat. And they
Right.
didn't, it's not like they liked it. Like it wasn't great.
No.
They were doing it because it was fun, but like that was how they justified it. It was like, it's not a human anymore.
That's a fascinating story. The Ugandan, it was a football team, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
football
Ugandan.
team.
Yeah.
Morbid did an episode about
I was,
them. And then,
that's exactly where my brain went.
yep. Yep. There's another really great podcast called Against the Odds that I highly recommend if you're interested in those type of stories. Sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but they do stories about people who have survived really wild, sometimes absolutely horrific
Yeah.
incidences. So they did an episode and they do like multi parts on a story. So they did like a series on the Ugandan football team and the crash in the Andes. They did the
Can I
Thai
interrupt
cave
real quick on
rescue.
that?
Yeah.
It's Uruguay.
Uruguay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's what I was
was
saying
like,
that in my
I'm like,
head and I was not coming out of my mouth correctly.
yeah, and I'm like, I was thinking like something doesn't sound right. I'm like, we should probably correct that to the Uruguayan team.
No, it was Uruguay.
That's
I'm sorry. That I was saying it correctly in my head and it was not coming out of my mouth correctly, so I appreciate you saying that.
yes, it's
Yeah.
Uruguay. In case
Uruguay.
somebody was confused,
Either way.
they probably listened to like the last minute, like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah,
Yes.
my bad. My bad, listeners. That was me.
What'd you say
making a mistake.
what'd you say that podcast was called?
Against the Odds.
Against the Odds. I think for honestly, I don't, some of that stuff I get into. I think Frank would like that because
I don't know. Some of those are just. I already listened to National Park After Dark, and some of those
That's a
get
good
too
one.
much for me. The what's it called? The worst one I've ever listened to that I don't want to listen to again was it the Nutty Putty or something?
I can't.
Oh,
Morbid did an
Nutty
episode on
Putty.
that. Morbid did an
That's
episode
so
on that, and
sad.
I made it 15 minutes into the episode. It's the only episode ever of Morbid that I never finished.
That's a sad story.
I
It's
couldn't get
really
past
sad.
the descriptions of
Yeah.
spelunking. Like I just couldn't handle it.
There are then two more that National Park After Dark has done about in the Amazon. I think like one was where a plane got struck by lightning and it
Yes.
basically blew apart, and then one person survived in their seat. Or maybe it was Morbid, and I listened to it from Morbid. But like that
Morbid
one,
did
just
do
the
an episode
description.
about that
I
one.
think that one. Then National Park After Dark did one where it was this guy went out into the Amazon and they got this guide who was very sketchy, and he basically led them to their deaths and then abandoned them there, and he barely made it out. Like there was at one point where he had bug spray and he had a lighter and he was sleeping and he turns on the lighter and there's a jaguar in front of him.
Oh,
And he has to do like I think it was like he had to do a makeshift flamethrower and use up the last of his bug spray and a lot of his lighter to scare the jaguar off.
oh
I do
my gosh.
remember.
And he got lucky and he found a boat with people who were able to rescue him. But it was like at the very end, he got very lucky and just the things that happened to him. I think they're like maggots in his arm and everything. It's just
Oh yeah.
those stories are interesting, but I like to try and if there's a whole podcast just dedicated to it, I don't think I could do it that much. I like to
Yeah.
spread out that stuff. Some of it's just so fucked up.
No, that's totally fair. And that's like I said, Against the Odds is very much it. There are people inevitably in certain episodes that do end up they don't make it out.
Listen to about a guy in Tasmania who had to have his leg amputated off
Ooh.
in I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Ooh.
And then
It was 2021.
in National Park After Dark, and like we saw a picture of like where the guy was stuck, and it's insane because they had to cut off his leg in freezing water under the water in like a remote mountain area in Tasmania.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's only a few years ago that happened, but it's like these things, too many, it happens too often. There's too many stories to tell of this.
Yeah, true. Very true. Well, I'm going to wrap us up here with one final segment that I am calling Mummy Brown, which I will admit my art history nerd brain finds this really interesting. The practice of corpse medicine began to die out in the 18th century as science began to grow more advanced. But to round this back to mummies for a moment, I want to talk about the color mummy brown. Egyptian mummies were not only being used for medicinal cannibalization, they were ground up and used as pigment for oil paint. While this does not appear to have been a widely used practice, it did happen. Mummy brown was useful for spreading over thin layers and being a kind of a transparent brown. However, it was criticized for its lack of longevity. Over time, the paint could crack, shrink, and or undergo color shifting. And I'm so sorry, guys. I know I'm weird. It's the art history brain. Also, many artists did not even realize that the secret ingredient, quote unquote, in mummy brown was actual mummies. It's very possible that they just saw it as like that was that particular name of that shade of brown. So, for example, think of green. Say again.
Oh, it's like Soylent Green, but instead paint.
Right. I was going to say, for example, think about how Crayola names their crayons. Like Purple Mountain's Majesty comes to mind for me.
Robin Egg Blue.
Damn.
Robin Egg Blue.
They're crush up Purple Mountains for that crayon, and they're killing little robin eggs for that crayon. I think we gotta go protest at Crayola at this point. Barbarians.
The Crayola factory is in Pennsylvania, isn't it?
It is. I want to visit it because you can actually make your crayons there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Frank. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. I was going to say, when you said that, so many people growing up had birthday parties there where you do Crayola stuff.
Yeah.
I think my sister went to like 2 or 3 there.
I did a field trip in elementary school.
Oh, I never did a field trip to there. We did one to, I don't know if this was in school or if this was at daycare, but we did go to the Turkey Hill experience.
I was literally about to say there's so many weird and interesting things to do in PA, like the Turkey Hill experience too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot made in this state, and a lot of weird shit happens here too.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes. Well, in fact, one British artist, Edward Burne-Jones, was horrified at finding out his tube of mummy brown paint did actually contain human remains in it. And bless him, after finding this out, he actually buried his paint in an effort to give the deceased a proper burial.
That's sweet.
Like he was horrified and literally went out and like gave this paint because he was like, I can't believe this is terrible.
Oh my gosh.
I know. What a sweet soul.
Yeah, that's so sad. But also what a sweet thing to do to like just try your best to give some, dignity back.
Yeah. Yeah. I just tried to throw my phone across the room. That was a very touching story when I read that. So it's not certain when mummies began being used as paint pigment or why they were being used as pigment in the first place. I did find that apothecaries and the color trade were, according to the website Harvard Art Museums, closely aligned with one another starting in the medieval period. Mummy was first plainly stated to be used in the 16th century by Juan Pentoya de la Cruz, court painter for Philip III of Spain. In the studio inventory taking after de la Cruz's death in 1608, carne de mumia was listed as being used in his palette. And according to Google Translate, this directly translates to, this is horrible, mummy meat. I'm so sorry, guys. Europe really pillaged Egyptian archaeological sites in the 18th and 19th centuries, and this was the height of when ground mummy was being used as pigment in paint. However, by the 20th century, its use finally died out as the ethical implications of using ground up human remains as a paint pigment came to the forefront of people's minds. Thank God. This paint pigment, whether it was used regularly or not, actually lasted longer from the sounds of it than corpse medicine itself did.
Wow.
So That's what I've got.
Woo.
Woot.
That's
Uh,
it. That's all.
That's
That's
What
that's
Not
all.
enough cannibalism. Give me more.
Give me more.
Oh,
Do you guys
oh
have
my
any
gosh.
thoughts on this whole thing?
Actually, I do have a thought about this because this really hasn't gone away if you think about it. Because a lot of the ideas about these medicinal, unproven like cures using parts of other things, it still exists today, just not with humans. Instead, exists with the ivory trade in exotic animals. It's something actually I touched on a little bit in our Orang Pendek episode. Is I talked about the wildlife of Sumatra. You got the Sumatran tiger, the Sumatran elephant, the Sumatran rhinos. Sumatran rhinos are, I think, under 50 left in existence. They
Yeah.
will go extinct most likely in the 2030s. The
Mm.
Sumatran, the two types of orangutans are both endangered too. And the big driver between them and also elephants and rhinos in Africa is ivory for those horns and claws for certain animals and other meats to be used as exotic treatments. They just, for some of them, they literally kill the animal, take the horn, and then leave the rest out to rot
That's a
because
really good point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's a lot of the same ideas that are here, but perpetuated in other parts of the world still. And that's just, a sad truth of what's going on is, we think it's kind of goofy to an extent and fucked up that people did this, but we just kind of in parts of the world we just were like, oh, we can't do it with humans anymore. Let's move on to exotic endangered animals. Pangolins are a huge victim of this because of their scales. It's one of the
Mhm.
only mammals to have scales, and we crush them up and grind them and use them as medicine. It's something that definitely persists to today, but people don't realize it how like prevalent it still is. It's
Sure.
in many facets of the world still that people do this. Rich people do this, and I don't mean like don't take this. I don't want you guys to take me as being racist, but Asian markets have this more than any other place in the world. Specifically, China has a huge problem with this.
Yeah, because they'll also like use like dinosaur bones and stuff, or just bones and
Yes,
kind of
that's a
market as dragon.
Yep, and that's a really bad thing. Is China is one of the, and I don't know if I told you guys, I'm a huge dinosaur and paleontology
Mhm.
nerd, and dinosaur bones. China is one of the best places to find bones. China and the United States and areas of Africa are huge for finding bones. But what happens is poaching bones is becoming such a huge thing, whether it be for rich people to have bones or to make medicines. And China has a huge medicine problem, and then countries like Mongolia have a huge rich people problem to the extent like there's this really phenomenal dinosaur called Dinochirus,
Mhm.
and it's like a fucking duck on steroids. It's it's the largest ornithomimosaur out there. We originally, when we found it, only had its hands because went to a private collector because it has these giant claw hands. Well, what happened was they eventually found where it was originally dug up. The poachers took the claws and then with a sledgehammer broke the rest of the fossil so that
Oh,
paleontologists couldn't get it. But they were able to
oh,
get it and reconstruct it and have found other ones since. But that's one of the things going on is to it both in China and in other countries, they get what they need from other stuff, and to make sure they deny paleontologists the getting the rest of the dinosaur, they will destroy it intentionally.
my God.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Like my thoughts on this. I know I've given a lot of my thoughts like throughout the whole episode, so I'll
Oh,
keep it short and
you're good.
sweet. But so obviously, like we're from Pennsylvania, and recently, a couple weeks ago, an individual outside of Philadelphia, like in Lancaster County, I think it
I told you about
was
this.
caught with like
Oh, sorry.
hundreds of like real human bones that he was
Yeah.
selling on the
Yes, yeah.
internet. Like I think that he had what like 10 actual corpses or something like that, and the rest were
Yeah.
just the bones. Not to say that that's any better than the corpses, but like I think back to that like it's a lot of it I think comes down to interest. Like
Hmm.
what can we do
Yeah.
with the things that we have? We only have so much in this world, and what can we do with it? As art connoisseur. Carmine being grinded for red, the color red.
Mhm.
They're beetles. Like how did we determine that like grinding them up and mixing them was going to make the color red for paint. There's just so many different things that we wouldn't have these things without the unethical practices,
Right.
which like sucks. Like, I mean, and Brie, you probably know this, like working in the therapy field, the experiments that have been done in the therapy world, like most of them are unethical.
Yeah.
Or they are disproven now. So like I think like Stanford prison experiment, they've recently determined that that isn't actually viable because the guy like told everybody to be extra mean to the prisoners or whatever. But the unethicalness of that still gave us such a fascinating understanding of the human brain and how we think. And we wouldn't know certain things if we didn't have a history of our ancestors, I guess, eating people. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
But-
I mean, we know how conditioning works, or not conditioning, because of little Albert.
Yeah.
What was that? What's the name for that? Because they like made him afraid of white fluffy things.
Oh.
Is that conditioning?
It is. I think it is conditioning.
And yeah, the whole thing with the person outside of Philly. Actually, I said her and I talked about this. Do you remember? The episode comes out next week. This will be out after then.
Yeah.
We did Bloody Benders. That comes out next week. Well, she did it. I just listened and made comments. And we had a whole discussion about that at the end of that episode because I was like, hey, there's some freaky stuff going on in Philly.
Yeah. Yeah. Some crazy, crazy, freaky stuff.
Yeah.
But I was looking through Morbid's episodes. One day, I hope that Morbid recognizes how many times that I have shouted out their podcast. I just really want to meet these ladies. I love them. They re-released their episode of the unbelievable survival tale of Julianne Kopecky, which was the woman who survived in the Amazon.
Yes.
They released that in December of 24, if anyone's interested. And then literally not long after that, January of 25 is when they did the Uruguayan Air Force flight,
Okay.
which is the one that has the rugby team on it. So
The
it's not a
rugby
football team, it's a
team.
rugby
That's
team.
right. It wasn't a soccer team.
But I think they do a beautiful job of explaining like why the people had to do what they had to do to live. Like they separate that like cannibalism versus survival, like the difference in that. And I think that that's a great episode. So just notice me. Just notice me, Morbid.
Morbid's on our bingo sheet a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we have a bingo.
I should put you guys on my bingo sheet because I know I've called you guys out a couple times because like, oh,
Oh, you
remember we talked
have.
about
Thank
that?
you. Yes. Do I have
But-
thoughts?
Do you have
Go ahead,
thoughts?
Sage. Are you done? I'm sorry.
No, I'm all done. That's all I had.
I think I said a lot of my thoughts as we went. I think it is so interesting how people can put that like division in their head of this is medicine, this is people, because we do that with so many things. I mean, a lot of people who eat meat don't think about their hamburger being a cow.
Yeah.
And we put those like dividers in our brains all the time with things. You know, we might act outside of our values, but then not what's the word I want? Like not defend it, but we might justify it. Yeah. It's like in this case, this is okay, which maybe in some things it is. But brains are just fascinating, but I don't want to eat one.
Yeah. They're like compartmentalizing the difference between the things, like just in order to, you know, get through kind of that deal. But I agree. Don't eat the mummies, and I'm not eating any brains. So
I like that as a pin idea. Brains are fascinating, but I don't want to eat one.
yeah, awesome. We're going to have a great collection. People are going to be so confused when they see this collection of pins.
Cannibalism for all is the communism I want.
Oh my God.
We can each get our own pin.
That's true. That's true.
Collector's edition.
Collector's edition pins.
Whenever you go back and edit this, you'll have to like just take the quote that has like for each person.
Yes, yes, I will do that. We'll have to do that.
Yeah.
I know the cannibalism for all is the communism I want.
That's
I
Frank.
like brains, but I won't eat them.
I like brains, but I won't eat them.
I know I said something earlier that I said like, oh, that should be on a button.
Yeah.
So when you go back and listen, you can figure it out then.
Yes.
But that'd be hilarious. Oh my God.
Fun.
All right, are we ready to wrap? Oh, we need to do questions still.
Questions, yes.
Got those. All right.
So
These are mostly for Christiana, but if you guys want to give your thoughts,
please do.
what drew you to this topic?
The absolutely horrifying realization that Europeans were eating mummies. If you guys remember back when we were on the Triple U, we as in Something Strange, were on the Triple U podcast, and you guys mentioned in the Cleopatra episode how Europeans were eating mummies, and I wish we could have had my face on camera because I was absolutely horrified. I was like, excuse me.
I'm pretty sure all three of you were horrified when I just like mentioned it casually. I'm like, do you all not know that they ate mummies?
Yeah. I was like,
I knew it, but her reaction was
I was shook.
I did not. I only knew it at that time because I had wrote it down. So
Okay, sure.
But like I didn't know before that, and I probably had the same face when I was doing the research. But
What?
yeah, like are you kidding? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
was there anything you wish you could have researched more into?
My art history brain wouldn't mind doing some research into the artists and paintings that used mummy brown paint, like our lovely gentleman who buried his paint. There are some famous paintings that were referenced in my research. One in particular that was like the bedroom, I think it's called like the bedroom window or something like that, that used mummy brown. I'm just curious about the different paintings that used it and the artists. And if, I don't know if I would be able to find this, but if they knew what exactly was in their mummy brown pigment when they were using it.
Yeah.
What'd you find the most strange about this topic?
Medicinal cannibalization. Can't get much more strange than that.
It's crazy how many different things there were in this. I thought it was just British people eating mummies, one for fun and two for medicine.
Yeah.
And then you hit us with a fucking truth bomb of, hey, here's a lot of other things. Go to your local executioner to get your cup of warm blood, warm, fresh blood.
The blood marmalade.
Delightful.
Ugh.
Breakfast of Champions.
Ay,
another one.
ay.
Breakfast of champions with blood biscuit.
I was gonna say blood marmalade and then breakfast of champions.
Yes.
Wow. I think that kind of wraps us up here.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a suggestion for a strange or mysterious topic, a comment about an episode, or just want to chat, please reach out.
You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube. Comment directly on episodes on Spotify and YouTube, or leave a review of the podcast as a whole on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Find us on Instagram at something_strange_pod, on Facebook at Something Strange Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at something_strange_pod.
You can also send us a Gmail at somethingstrangepod24@gmail.com, and the 24 is numeric.
Thank you to our awesome guests for joining us from Triple U, Frank and Sage.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's always great to, be on here with you guys.
Well, strangers, it's time for us to part ways.
Until we meet again, please don't desecrate corpses.
We'll be back again soon with another Something Strange.
Strange. Are you interested in the
Unknown,
Unsolved?
Unseen.
Then join us.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Sage.
Every Monday as we look into the world's most perplexing mysteries,
From the Yeti of the Himalayas
to the UFO crash in Roswell,
to the haunted halls of Eastern State Penitentiary,
or exploring the kidnappings of the Beaumont children,
we have something special for everyone.
find Unknown, Unsolved, Unseen podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember,
To look for
the unknown
the unsolved
and the unseen